month. And so let's get up and stretch here. Let's take a quick stretch break. We got the co-founder coming up here in the next 30 seconds. We're going to play a little music, get the blood flowing. Let's get a chance for everybody to have an opportunity to stretch, get your mind on sponge so you're ready to take in the information that you're about to receive. So thank you guys for being coachable, standing up, stretching around. That's it. Hands in the air. Put your hands, everybody, hands in the air. Turn your camera on.
You might think crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news talking this and that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, guys, let's get ready to take some great notes. Let's get ready to jump into the information here. We've got an individual going to be on tonight's call that needs no introduction. And for any of you that are here, you know, you have an opportunity to hear from an individual along with his three partners that started ACN 28 years ago. Today, we're a global phenomenon. We're having record success. We're able to do things that nobody else can do right now in the direct sales industry, and that is provide essential services in 28 countries around the world. And I want you to put your hands together for our very own co-founder, Mr. Mike Cupisz, everybody.
Patrick, how are you, buddy?
Man, I'm doing great. Michael, I never expected the day would come where we could do a leadership class, be on the same event with people all over the world. We got MD in Australia and many, many other people throughout the United States. But on behalf of everybody, Michael, thank you for making yourself available. We're just so excited to have you on here tonight, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Well, I appreciate it. And by the way, Patrick, anytime. The fact that you and your brother have been doing so well for so long and your leadership speaks for itself. You know, I was listening to Jeannie Asante and obviously Ken had a great training. And when I was listening to both of them speak, they said so much about this opportunity. And I just hope that everyone who was listening was picking up on some of the nuances of what they said, because believe it or not, they said so much that if you really just grasp what they said, you'll understand what this opportunity is all about. I'm sitting right now in Detroit, Michigan. I actually live in a city called Birmingham. I'm at my office, and I'm just going to talk about a couple things. I won't keep you guys long, but when Patrick asked me to join this call, I thought it would be a good idea just to share a couple things with you. Number one, you know, I feel very fortunate because I was introduced to this industry at a very young age. I was only 24 years old when somebody actually invited me to look at a opportunity in this industry. It was not ACN, obviously, because it wasn't invented yet. But I took a look at this industry. It was my very first time. And I have to admit, when I went to the meeting, I really was reluctant. I didn't even want to go. I had this like preconceived idea of what I thought I was going to look at. And I was a little bit negative in my mind. But I really never seen network marketing. I'd actually never seen a presentation before. The very first time I sat through a presentation, I sat there and I looked up, and I swear to you, I knew it was going to be something I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I'll tell you why. For two reasons. One, when I was really young, I was in my teens, late teens, actually just coming out of high school, I started my own business, and it was a lawn sprinkler business. And I remember something happening. You know, when I first started it, it was something that was simple to do. It was like putting a puzzle together. I knew how to do it, but I could make some good money. It was a skill. It was a trade. And I started installing some sprinklers for some residential customers. I did it all by myself. But I realized I started getting more business because I took pride in what I was doing, and my work was good. So I started getting a lot of referrals. And I realized I needed some help if I wanted to do all the jobs that was starting to come my way. So I started hiring some of my friends. And it wasn't too long after I started hiring some of my friends, maybe 3, 4, 5. I think at one point I had like maybe 8 or 10 of them working. I remember getting sick. I don't remember whether I had a flu or whatever, but I got sick for about a week. And, during that week, I was scared. I was frustrated because I had never missed a job. I was at every job. I was there working from the start to the end. I serviced a job. I explained how to use the system to my customers. And when it was all said and done, that week I couldn't go. But when I was all done, my friends got together who were working for me at the time and said, Mike, it's all done. We took care of all the jobs. All you've got to do now is just go get the check because we've taken care of everything. And sure enough, they did. I went to every job and I didn't have to explain anything. The work was done. And that was the first time in my life I really understood the value of employing the efforts of other people, but leveraging my time in doing so, because I couldn't do anything that week. But here I was in bed, I was sick, but all of a sudden I had this success in my own business. That was my lesson number one. Lesson number two was during that same window of time, I had that sprinkler company. My twin brother was selling health insurance, and he did that for about 4 or 5 years. And in the very beginning, he didn't make any money because he was on straight commission. It was residual commission, but he would make money every single month on the premiums that his customers are paying. He was selling small business insurance. And I remember at about year 4 or year 5, we were working about the same. And all of a sudden we realized him and I were making the exact same amount of money per year, the exact, but there was something different. Tony did not have to go to work anymore because his was residual based. So he had built up a large customer base in insurance. So now he was making the same amount of money that I was making, but I still had to go to work every single week. I had to get customers. I still had to install sprinkler systems. I had employees. I had headaches after headaches after headaches after headaches. And here we are making the same amount of money. My brother said something to me, I'll never forget. He looked at me one day and he says, Mike, you know what the difference between you and I is? I go, what? He goes, I don't know the difference between a Tuesday morning and a Saturday morning. He says, you do. And, it was just twin banter. We were going back and forth. But when he said that, I go, he's right. He's absolutely right. And I realized even though we were both working hard, he was putting his efforts into something that was going to pay him differently than I was. And I said, you know what, that's it. I didn't care how many steps I had to take backwards, but I said, I'm going to start something new. I can't continue doing what I'm doing because I'm not going to get ahead in life. So I ended up just getting out of my sprinkler business. I went and got my license in insurance, life, health, and code to sell insurance. 2 weeks after I got my license, I was starting to apply for some insurance jobs. And that's when somebody introduced me to network marketing for the first time. So I was 24 years old. And the reason why network marketing intrigued me was for 2 reasons. When I sat through my very first meeting, I understood that here's a business model that you can actually earn residual income on the repeat sales of services or products that are being sold in that company. But the most powerful part of that, because I could do that in the insurance business, but the most powerful thing about what I saw in network marketing was that you could incorporate or employ the efforts of other people, but you didn't have to employ anybody. Now think about the difference. If any one of you are listening to me right now, if you ever owned a business where you actually had to employ people, you'll never understand the pain of having a business where you have to actually employ people. You've got to have insurance, you've got to have payroll. I mean, there's so many different things, and then you got to worry about whether somebody's going to actually show up the next day, because when you have an employee, they're going to get paid sometimes whether they show up or not. I mean, having employees is a real pain. What I fell in love with about direct sales was, wow, you could actually have a business where you could employ the efforts of other people, but they weren't employees. They were actually independent contractors just like you. They go out and earn money the same way you make money. And the ones that work really hard can make a lot of money. The ones that do nothing obviously make nothing. But the fact is you could still leverage your time through building an organization of independent contractors. And at the same time, you can make residual income. And that's what I was most attracted to about this industry of direct sales. And I knew from the very first moment I saw my very first meeting, I go, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I knew it. And I ended up getting my brother involved and a few of my other friends, within a few couple of weeks we're in. And look, everything was great for me personally. When I got into network marketing, I just did what they told us to do. And I did very well my first year, my second year. But the company that we had joined was a bad company. Not because it was I shouldn't say it was a bad company. It was a good company that had owners that had no experience in network marketing. So they made decisions that ultimately collapsed the company. I mean, this company was massive. It was doing incredible revenues. It was international. And within like 90 days, it was gone. And some of the greatest networkers I've ever met came from that company. My partner, Robert Stefanowski, was in that company. George Zalicki was in that company. Larry Raskin was in that company. I mean, there's so many people. Art Napolitano was in that company. There's so many people I know that became successful from network marketing were in that company, and it just went belly up. It was over. And that's when my brother and I had to decide, what are we going to do? And that's when, we decided either we've got to get out of this industry or we've got to look for another company. And it was right at that moment in time where we introduced our now partners of ACN, Greg Provenzano and Robert Stefanowski. And when we met these guys, I can't explain why, but we just knew we were meant to work together. So we decided to partner up. And we were looking at all the companies that were available to us around that time, and we couldn't find one company that had what we were looking for. And that's when we decided to put ACN together. And we asked ourselves two questions. First one was, what do we believe in? Second one was, what are we interested in? And, the answer to the first question is, what do we believe in? We believed in this industry. We knew it worked. The answer to the second question was, what are we interested in? And the answer to that question was the opportunities we could see coming through the deregulation of the telecommunication industry. And, at that time, there was only one service deregulated in the 90s. It was long distance phone service. And what's interesting is that service was probably the worst service you could sell, because it was one of the only services that nobody wanted to use. I mean, if you ever went to someone's house, it was a fixed line, it was a landline at someone's house. If you ever went to someone's house and you said, excuse me, could I use your phone? The very first thing somebody would say when they look at you and say, hey, you're not going to make a long distance phone call, are you? It was like, oh, no, I was just going to call down the street. I mean, everybody was always worried about making a long distance phone call because it was expensive at the time. And, obviously, people didn't want to get those unexpected charges. So we were selling a service that nobody wanted to use, number one. And when we got into the industry, there was so much competition. It was insane. I mean, the competition was insane. I mean, the three big phone companies at the time, and this was in the 1990s, was, I remember, AT&T, MCI, and Sprint. And they had about 90% of the customers. We signed a contract with the fourth largest company called LCI. Now, this was a small, long-distance phone company. They only had maybe about 2% of the market, if I can remember correctly, in the entire United States. And we said, listen, we're going to sign a contract with this company, and we're going to go out and get customers. Now, they didn't know what we were capable of at the time. And in 5 short years, we brought them so many customers that the customers that we brought to them was generating almost $33 million US per month in billing when you add up all of our customers' phone bills together. That's an impressive number. But what's more impressive is the average customer was only spending about $7. Now think about that for a minute, $7. So we had brought so many customers through our model that we had generated almost $33 million a month. Now, because of that, we had something in our contract where if they would ever get bought or sold, and obviously it was expected that that could happen, they ended up getting bought by a company called Quest Communications. And when that transaction happened, that triggered a bonus to ACN. Now, it was something we never expected at the time. It was in our contract. We were never counting on it or betting on it, but it triggered about almost $90 million US. We got half up front and the other half about 2 years later. And that's the money that we were able to earn to become the ACN you see today. Because you got to remember, when Greg, Robert, and Tony and I started this company, we had no money. All we had was vision. We had belief. We understood this model, and we went to work, and we were hard workers. And, that money is exactly what we needed to transition from what I would call a mom and pop network marketing company to a big organization. And we invested about $60 million US in Europe. We invested, and I'll give you an example how much money we invest constantly. $40 million was in Japan, 20 million in Korea, 20 million in Australia, 20 million in Mexico, 20 million in Colombia. I don't even know the amount that we've invested in Peru. We've just launched a brand new energy company in Europe called Blue Grid Energy. We're sending millions of dollars over there right now. That's going to be absolutely huge. But we've always made tremendous investments in everything that we do. And where did that money come from? It started from that initial bonus that we received from that sales and that transaction. The rest of the money just came from sweat equity, the money that we earned through this business. We've never borrowed money. We've never taken bank loans to make these investments. We've always earned the money ourselves and put it all back in the business. And that's why ACN has been around for almost 30 years, because this company is self-financed And we are very fiscally responsible, and we're very strong as a company because we always realize that we have to find ways to always improve this opportunity. And when I use the word improve, which is interesting about that word, the word improve means, can we find new opportunities with new services to offer in our business, which makes us a very unique model. And I'll tell you why. When you introduce services like, energy, or you introduce services like ID Seal, or even, for example, what we're doing in Europe with Blue Green Energy. I mean, instantaneously, when you can introduce something new like that to an existing structure, you've got the benefit of two things. Number one, an organization that's got the longevity, right? Longevity, because longevity is credibility. The fact that we've been around for almost 30 years, that separates us from almost every other direct sales company out there, because most direct sales companies don't make it to 2 years. The fact that we've been in business for almost 30 years says a lot about ACN and our structure. We've got the longevity, we've got the history, we've got, all the experience. And that's why we've been around for a long time, because everything we do is to build for the long term. But at the same time, whenever we introduce new opportunities, it's like ACN is brand new. It's like you're launching it for the very first time. And I'll give you an example. When we started ACN, we were selling long distance in the 90s, right? Can you imagine if I was sitting here telling you today we were selling long distance? You'd laugh at me, right? I still remember in the late 90s when we introduced pagers. You guys, is anybody on this Zoom call remember pagers, the beepers you put on your waist? Somebody would call you and you get a little beep and you could actually call someone back. I mean, that was huge technology, right? Then we got into not only long distance, and we got into your whole phone service. That was a big business. We got into digital phone service, video phones, energy, mobile service, and obviously the list goes on. But we can always adapt, because the greatest part of our opportunity is that when we build an organization, and when you build an organization, that's a distribution center for whatever service or opportunity comes our way. So in an instant, and we're always looking at what's next, what's big, what's coming, because there's always something big and there's always something coming, and we can introduce that in the model. And in an instant, it changes the business forever. So we're always looking at making this business strong, making this business better. But what's given us the longevity is that we realize there's always a new opportunity coming our way. Look, the bottom line is, people always say, tell me what the biggest benefit of any service you're selling. And I'll say the biggest service that we're selling is our opportunity itself. Because where can you go and earn residual income on any of the services that we're offering? Think about that for a minute. And let's forget about the entire, I thought Ken did a great job at explaining the compensation plan. And when I was listening to him, I was leaning forward going, you know what? As I was listening to Ken, I go, he's actually motivating me. I actually want to sign up, because what he's saying is making a lot of sense. And if you listen to what he was explaining to you and you saw the simplicity of how he explained it, how can someone deny this opportunity? But let's take all that away for a minute. Just take it all away. Just go to the 3 to 20% residual income that you can earn in ACN. Now, just think about that for a minute, okay? If you go out and you never did anything else, right? You never did another thing, but you said, I'm going to just take advantage of that 3 to 20%. And you started going out and getting customers. Now, obviously those residuals are based on, CV. It's based on a commissionable value. So every service may have something different, but let's put that aside for a minute. The fact is that you could actually earn up to 20%. I mean, you could not, I will challenge any one of you that are listening right now. You go to any service provider in America today, and obviously this is international, right? So I'll challenge any one of you who are listening to me internationally. You go to any service provider in the country that you live, and I challenge you to get a contract for 20%. I challenge you, because they're going to laugh at your face. And I'll tell you this, what's even more interesting, I don't know what the total number of points is in the United States. I think it's 200. I've got Europe on my mind because that's where I work most of the time. But I think it's 200 points is what you need to do to get to 20%. So if I'm wrong, whatever, just adjust it in your mind. But 200 points, think about that for a minute, right? 200 points. Let's say we're averaging a service that's only 2 points for a minute, right? And I know we got services more than that. We got services less, but just say 2 points. That means you have a contract to make 20% if you go out and get 100 clients, 100 customers. Now, that doesn't mean you have to get 100 customers a year or a month or a week or a day. It's just total. You just hit that number, you're at 20%. Just think about that for a minute. You hit 100, you're at 20%. As long as you maintain 100, if one drops off, replace it, you're always at 20%. Why is that so powerful? Because if you go get a contract, and I know this because we do this all the time, we have to sit down and negotiate with companies. I'm right now in the United Kingdom negotiating with Virgin Media, who provides broadband, TV, and phone. EE, who's a mobile provider. We do this all the time. And when we sign contracts with these companies, they have to pay us so we can pay our IBOs. Now, obviously, we provide our own service, and we do have our own services. We have a service called Joy Mobile, which is similar to a mobile that you'd have in the US called Flash. We have Joy Mobile in Europe. We have our own services. And if we have our own services, you get lifetime residuals on the full bill. But if we have an agency deal, right, we get paid from them and we pay you. There's never been a contract that we've ever signed where they didn't give us a minimum quota. They said, you have to give us X amount of customers, per year or per month in order for us to maintain this contract at these price points that we're going to pay you. That's normal. But we don't tell you that. We don't say to you, hey, you've got to do X amount of business. We say, look, you get 100 points, 100 customers, 200 points, you do that, you're going to get paid no matter what. If you stop getting customers from that point forward, so what? You're still going to get 20%. Now you tell me where you can get that as an opportunity anywhere, any place globally today. And then you add on top of that, the bonuses, the building of an organization, right? You think about everything that ACN has to offer, man, this is not a once in a lifetime opportunity. This is a one-time opportunity. There will never be another ACN. And I can tell you this right now, there have been companies that have stolen our ideas and they've tried to copy us, and not one of them have ever succeeded. Because you could steal the dream, but you can't steal the magic. The heart of ACN comes from the soul of our experience and where we came from and what we do behind the scenes. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that ACN is perfect, because it's not. But I promise you this, you'll never find a perfect company, because companies are run by people, and people are not perfect. People are imperfect. So people make mistakes. We make mistakes. But the one thing I can share with you is we will always fix our mistakes. We will always look to grow, and we will always stand by the philosophies that we had when we started this company, that we believe that all of you listening to me right now, you are the kings, you are the queens of this opportunity. Without you, I wouldn't be talking to you. I can tell you that right now. And I want to share a couple more things with you, and then I'm going to sign off. Guys, look, this has been a crazy year. How many of you would agree that 2020 has been probably the craziest year that most of us can remember? I mean, I look back, and I know there's been a lot of crazy years. I mean, I can look back in the last 20 years, and we've had a lot of crazy years. I mean, but I can't remember a year like 2020. I just can't. I mean, I still remember, I always joke around with my friends because, at the end of every year, I always reflect and say, I can't believe this happened, or I can't believe that happened, and I can't believe this happened, because something always happens every single year that's shocking. I remember one year I just turned on the TV and I saw these floods coming into Japan, and I couldn't believe what I was actually witnessing. It was late at night. I was watching, I think it was either Fox News or CNN. I'm looking at the news, and my wife, I'm going, honey, look at this. I mean, is this real? What am I looking at here? And this water was flowing into the cities, and it was carrying all the cars. And I'm thinking, what is going on? Because I actually saw cars driving on the road that it was flooding. I'm going, this just happened. And it wasn't until the next day or so that, it started becoming a reality. And, it went from being surreal to realizing what happened over there. But I can tell you every single year there's something that crazy happens, but I could have never predicted this in 2020. I remember closing out 2019 saying, I'm going, wow, everything's going so great. The economy's strong. You can say what you want about politics. Who cares about that? I didn't want to get into that, but I was thinking to myself, I'm going, wow, I can't see how 2020 is going to be a bad year. I mean, things are going so strong. And I remember just talking to my friends, I'm going, I can't imagine what could actually happen to derail this economy or derail anything in 2020. And then boom, a global pandemic. I mean, who would have ever expected something like that? But I'm going to share something with you. When that happened, again, it was just another thing. I was in Europe, by the way, when Donald Trump closed the border. And I remember I flew there on business class. I was comfortable. I had a glass of champagne. I was sitting, relaxing. I got out there. I was doing my tour. And then when I had to come back and we heard that news, everybody was panicking in Europe because he didn't clarify what shutting the border was. So I thought I had to get home within 24 hours. I'm going, I got to get home. So I ended up running the air. I ended up sitting in the back of the plane, right? Last row in the middle, and coach, but that wasn't even the bad part. I didn't care about that. I've flown coach many times, but if you ever have to fly coach from Europe, that's a pain because it's a very long flight. But I was sitting there, and the person to the right of me and to the left of me, one person was wearing a complete bodysuit with mask, like it was a medical bodysuit. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm sitting next to somebody that's got COVID, and I go, I can't believe it, and even when we landed, the CDC came on and said, everyone's got to sit down, and they grabbed this person, and then I ended up getting sick. I thought I got the coronavirus. I ended up going in quarantine as soon as I got home, but I got tested, and obviously it wasn't coronavirus, but I thought I had the coronavirus. It was just like a seasonal flu or something. And, but I came home and I'm thinking, I'm dying. I mean, I couldn't believe everything was just going crazy around that time, but I flew back from Europe and it was like, what is going on? And I'm thinking, what are we going to do? I mean, they're shutting down the economy. People can't meet face to face. And I'm going, wait a minute. ACN, we've been training people for years. How do you make money in ACN? We go face to face. That was our cliche, belly to belly. You got to get out there and talk to people. I mean, everyone's doing meetings in their home and they were doing meetings in hotels and trainings. And, I'm thinking, this is crazy. What are we going to do? And everybody started panicking. Everybody started freaking out. Leaders were calling me from all around the world. How am I supposed to build? I can't do anything. And nobody knew what to do. Now, the funny thing is we were already using Zoom. I mean, we were doing many Zoom calls, for the last couple of years, but, special calls for the leaders, and you had to call people and tell them how to do it. It wasn't mainstream. It wasn't like everyone was doing it. Nobody even knew what Zoom was at that time. And all of a sudden we realized everybody has to adapt, right? Everybody has to adjust, because in life, if you don't adapt, you die. It's as simple as that. In business, why do so many companies, even Fortune 100 companies, go out of business? Why? Because they don't adapt. Do you guys remember the company Nokia? It was like the biggest mobile phone hardware provider in the world. I mean, it was like Nokia was the biggest. Nokia was the best, but Nokia did not get into the smartphone business because they didn't believe it was. I can't speak for them, but this is what I'm telling from the reports I remember hearing. They didn't believe that the app technology was going to take over the mobile phone industry. They didn't believe it, so they never invested in it. So all of a sudden, what happened to Nokia? They crashed. They went from here to here because they didn't adapt. Now they're trying to make a comeback right now. They didn't go out of business. They're trying to make a comeback. I've been reading some stuff about them recently, but how many people do you know right now run out of their house and go, I got to get a Nokia phone. I got to get a Nokia. There was a time where like everybody had a Nokia. I had 2 Nokias in my briefcase because when I was in Europe, that was the only phone to use. But today you don't even hear about it anymore because they didn't adapt. You have to adapt. You have to pivot. You have to adjust. But I'm going to tell you something. What happened with COVID-19 and us using Zoom, some people still today feel that they're at a disadvantage. They say, oh, I just can't get my business up and running because, I just don't know how to adapt and, work under these circumstances. Let me tell you something. Zoom isn't just something we're using as a crutch. Listen to me for a second here. Zoom was the missing link. Zoom is the answer to the evolution of ACN. So some people don't realize that. And I know that because I talk to people all around the world. Some people go, oh, I don't still know how to use Zoom. And, and I go, are you crazy? You want to go back to how can we ever go back to the way we used to build the business? I mean, if I was in the field today doing what you're doing, I could never go back. I mean, imagine this. Now, again, I'm going a little off here and getting off script, but just hear me out because this is what I really believe. I'm not just talking right now. If somebody was to approach me and say, hey, Mike, I'd like to show you an opportunity. I said, sure. They said, I'd like to invite you to this hotel meeting on Wednesday night at 7:30. You think I'm going to go? Would you go? I mean, if somebody said, I'm having a business party meeting at my house, it's a PBR and it's a private business. I want you to come to my house. You wouldn't go anymore. Like that doesn't even seem like the way anybody would want to ever do business again. It's not even efficient. I mean, where's your house at? Oh, it's 40 minutes across the city. Okay, what time do I get off work? Okay, I got to make 40. I got kids. Okay, how long's the meeting? Oh, well, it's 30 minutes, but could last up to an hour. Okay, I got 45 minutes there, 45 minutes home. Where this was almost 3 hours of my night killed. Okay, and And then I get into the business, I do it. Now all of a sudden I go to a Friday night leadership and maybe a Saturday training, and they tell me I got to do 2 of these a night myself. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's not even fun anymore, right? I mean, think about going back to that compared to the simplicity of saying, hey, listen, I'm going to send you a link to a VIP presentation introducing you to a business opportunity. The whole thing's going to be maybe 20 minutes, jump on, and I'll give you a buzz after and tell me if you like what you see. I mean, think about the efficiency in that, the efficiency. How many of you could set up a meeting right now? How many of you could set up a Zoom and do a quick presentation, 20 minutes on, off, you're done, right? And introduce ACN, and then you sort out the people that are interested from the ones who are not interested, because that's the business we're in, guys. And I'm going to tell you something. If I had what you have right now, I look back on what we did in the 1990s, where we did 33 million a month in business. If we had Zoom then with what you have right now, I'm going to tell you, and I'm not exaggerating. I believe this in my soul. I've talked to my brother about this, and Robert and Greg. If we had what you have with this Zoom technology, Zoom tool, we wouldn't be doing 33 million a month. We'd be doing at least 300 million per month. 300 million. I guarantee that. Because when I look back at what we had to do to put somebody in front of the information, it was painful, it was arduous, and it was long. The fact that you can have somebody jump on a Zoom, I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to close with this, that look, if I was going to give any of you a piece of advice, and I learned this through many years of experience in this business. I know when people join ACM for the very first time, the very first feeling they have is they go, look, I like the opportunity. I'm ready to do this, but I know there's an initial fear for new people, because I had it too. They're thinking, do I have to explain this because, I'm brand new. I don't even know if I can explain this. But what's worse, that even if I could explain this, if somebody were to ask me questions, I might not be able to answer those questions. And I remember that feeling when I first joined this business. That was an initial fear, and it caused me to hesitate initially. But I remember the people that got me involved, they kind of comforted me, and they said, look, Mike, you don't have to present right away. Look, just get some people in front of the information. Just be good at inviting. That's all I want you to do. Just find some people that might be interested in looking at the opportunity, invite them to the presentation. And so if you're new, that's all you've got to get good at. Just put people in front of the information. But I'm going to tell you this. I learned from some very successful people, and they said to me, and they go, look, Mike, if you really want to be in full control of your business, learn how to present ACN. And what they said to me changed everything for me. They said, the reason why presenting, and it wasn't ACN at the time, it was another company, but I'm just using ACN as for purposes of explaining it to you. They said, look, learning how to present is actually easy. And the reason why it's easy is because your job in a presentation is really not to convince anybody to get involved in your business. Just think about that for a minute. What happened in my mind when they explained this to me is I realized if I don't have to convince people, then I'm not really selling this opportunity. I don't have to sell this. And they said, look, you're not selling our opportunity, because to sell it, it's like selling a car, right? In sales, you have to sell something because the only way you're going to make money is if somebody buys and you get a commission. In ACN, it doesn't work that way. If somebody joins this company because you're a good salesperson, if they don't get qualified, how much money do you make? Zero. We don't make money from selling people to join this business. We make money from explaining this business in the proper light, so those who are interested in taking advantage of this opportunity, because the timing is right, will join and go after it. Does that make sense? There's a difference. So all we're doing is sharing the opportunity, and the key word is explaining the opportunity. What they told me is, look, when you're doing a presentation, all you're really doing is explaining it, right? You're explaining why the company is a good company from your point of view. You're explaining what the different services are from your point of view. You're explaining, why ACN has a marketing advantage, right? All the big companies do what? They advertise traditionally to get a customer. What does ACN do? We partner with people like you. That's all we do. And we compensate you by becoming an independent business owner and going after customers. It's a simple concept where you can make money, just like the big companies do. Then we explain how the residuals work. We explain how the bonus works. But when you really think about it, if you get into the mindset of explaining it, not selling it, not convincing, explaining it. Just think about this you explain it. And if you see yourself as an explainer, if somebody's not interested, do you really care? Do you really care, right? If I was halfway through a presentation, I was talking to one person and they looked at me and said, it doesn't sound like I'm interested. I said, fine, I appreciate you looking. Why? Because in my mind, I'm not just going to invite anybody to training. They have to qualify. That's how I feel in my life. If I was presenting ACN, I'm not going to invite anybody to training. They have to qualify in my mind to go to training. And the only people I'm going to invite to training are the ones that are at least 51% interested. So if I'm just doing my job, explaining the business, then I need to learn how to use Zoom. Because if you really think about it, Zoom is the easiest, the most efficient, and most effective way to present ACN. You could literally sit at home and, there was a time where we would do one meeting every single night at 7:30 because we had to get people to invite people to show up to a hotel. And sometimes you'd only do it on Tuesday, Thursday nights. And then we do one Saturday training. Now think about that. That means all week long, I've really got two opportunities to present ACN. And then if anybody's interested, we can get them to a Saturday training. That's how we used to do it. Now, how many PBRs can you do in one PBZs? How many PBZs could you do in one day? Think about it. You could literally set up in a meeting right after breakfast. I'm gonna have a 10:30 a.m. Meeting. I got a 1 o'clock meeting right after lunch. I've got a 2 o'clock meeting. I got a 4 o'clock meeting. I'm gonna take a break for dinner. And you know what the heck? I'll do one more tonight at 7 o'clock, right? You could do 4, 5 meetings a day. And if you're really good at explaining the business, I always say just practice explaining it, not selling it, just explaining it. Just practice. If you practice explaining it, I guarantee that you could explain ACN literally in 5 to 7 minutes. You really could, because the whole purpose of someone's first presentation is not to give them training. It's just to give them just enough information so they can grasp the concept. And how hard is it to say, yeah, you earn residual income on services that people use every day. And by the way, you can build a team and earn overriding residuals on their customers. And by the way, we got some bonuses that you can earn too. How hard is it to explain that? How hard? And I guarantee if you practice, you could probably get good at explaining ACN between literally 5 to 7 minutes. But let's say it takes you 10 minutes. Let's say it takes you 15 minutes. So what? So what? If you just get good at explaining ACN, if it only takes you 15 minutes to explain it, how many people could you explain it to on a daily basis? And that's ultimately what it comes down to. And that's why I say, when I talk to you today, that I look back at what we did in the 1990s, we could have been at 300 million a month, is because back then we were only doing one meeting, maybe every couple of days that everybody was. Today, if I had what you had, I'd be doing 4 or 5 meetings a day. People say, oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot of meetings. Well, I'm not saying you have to, but if you can, do it. I mean, if you got one in a day, that's beautiful, right? If you got one in every other day, that's fine. I mean, everybody's going to do what they can do. I'm not going to push you to do something you can't do. But I mean, if you have the opportunity and you could do up to 5 a day, why wouldn't you? I mean, what's it take? Hey, I'm here to explain. I mean, most people get up in the morning and they go to a job, right? And the average person can work anywhere from 40 to 60 hours per week. And they don't make much money. They don't have a lot of room for growth. But they'll actually spend 20, 30, 40 years doing that same job. They'll spend their whole life and then they'll retire and they'll look back and say, wow, I'm broke. I have a lot of money. They'll go through the whole life. So when I think about how long does it actually take to do a meeting? If I could do a meeting in 15 minutes and I knocked out 4 of them in a day, that's 1 hour of actual work. But imagine if you had an average of 5 people on each one of those calls. Exponential growth. What could potentially happen if one of those people each day, out of everyone that looked at ACN, it was just like for me, where they said, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And then boom, you've got somebody that pop like popcorn. And all of a sudden that cooker gets hot. And before you know it, one day you look at your organization and you don't got 20 people in your organization. You got 20 presenters on your organization doing PBZs. Can you imagine one night, you just didn't feel like working, you take a break and you realized, even though I'm taking a break, there's 20 people right now doing 1, 2, 3, or even 4 PBZs today, and I didn't do anything. Can you imagine what your life will start turning into? Will you understand the value of employing the efforts of other people at that moment in time? Absolutely. When you see your residual check growing every single month because you got customers coming in, will you appreciate residual income? Absolutely. Could you ever go back and do anything else again after that? And I'll tell you right now, it'll be absolutely hard to do. What could you ever do after ACN? Where else can you have a business where you meet people like we meet, you socialize like we meet, you meet like-minded people that have vision and want something more in life, that they're looking to do something great, not just have a job. And at the same time, how you get compensated when you're successful. Residual income, bonuses, and you're building an organization that exponentially grows. Now, I'll tell you this, and I'll close with this. It's not easy. Don't come at this thinking it's going to be the easiest thing in the world. And don't come at this like you're going to get rich in 90 days. I mean, if right now, if you wanted to open up a business, I'm looking at some of your faces right now. Has any of you ever opened up a small business before? Yes or no? Okay, of course. So if you opened up a small business, you know it takes money to make money. And it's not just money you got to put in. It's the fact that you got to go to work and you're not making anything. You got to figure out how to market yourself. You got to figure out how to get customers in the door. And it's not even about getting customers in the door. It's about getting enough customers spending a certain amount of money where you can increase your margin, where you can actually pay for all the expenses of that business. And if there's something left over, you can pay yourself, right? Because the business owner always suffers, first, right? They got to make sure the business is healthy before they can take care of themselves. And yeah, if that business is successful 2, 3, 5 years from now, yeah, then people will look at you and say, oh, you're just lucky because you own a business. And people don't ever really appreciate what you put into it to make it work. Look, don't treat ACN like a job, or don't treat it like a charity or some kind of handout. That's not what this is. This is a business ownership opportunity. Okay, we're partnering together. So it looks like a job because there's a lot of people and it feels like we're all working together like for one company. You don't work for us. You don't work for ACN. Make that clear. You work for who? You work for you. You work for yourself. You earn your income based on the plan we put in place, based on what you create, what you build, and it's based on your business, not us. It's what your sideline doesn't matter, your upline doesn't matter. What matters is what you create from you down. This is a business that you own. And I'm telling you, never before in history have we been in a place where we are today with the technology of Zoom being what I call the final solution of creating this technology business that we have today that's going to make you more efficient. And if you really grasp what I'm saying, I'm telling you, the next decade, what you could create in the next decade, you'll make everything we did in the first 30 years look like nothing. And some of you probably are questioning whether what I'm saying is true. You're questioning, oh, I don't have the experience. I don't really know what I'm doing. I never did this before. Well, neither did we. We started ACN with zero experience, zero money, right? We've never done anything we have ever done before. Everything we did was based trial and error, and we just grew this thing because we believed in the power of opportunity. And if you believe in the power of opportunity, and that's where you're today, what can you create in the next decade? Why can't you create? And I know maybe not all of you are hearing me, but I guarantee some of you are listening to me right now. Why can't you in the next 120 months, which is 10 years, why can't you in the next 120 months create 3 times the business that we created in our first 30 years? And the answer is you can, but only if you believe it. If you think you're just a pawn in somebody else's game, then you'll never be anything. But if you really understand what I'm saying to you, then grab this thing and let's run with it and let's build. You guys are working with the most powerful team. Patrick and Mike are the #1 team globally. When they called and said, Mike, will you be a part of this call? I said, absolutely. Why wouldn't I? I mean, these guys, I'm telling you right now, you guys are so fortunate to have this team together. All you got to do now is say to them, what can you do to contribute? How can you make your story inspirational so that everyone on this line can believe that they can do it too? Because everybody always thinks success is someone else. And I say, no, it's for you. It's for you. Okay. But you've got to just grab it. And don't think I'm asking you to do something that you can't do. Just do what you can do and wait for it to exponentially grow. Okay. And that's all I ask. So thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a true honor. And, you guys are doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing. And at this point, I will turn the call back over to Mr. Patrick Mazer. Patrick?
Man, thank you, Michael. What an awesome message. Man, I know everybody's affected by what you said to us here tonight, and we appreciate what you do, what you continue to do. continue to make this opportunity great as you and your partners do. Let's give co-founder Mike Cupisz a round of applause, everybody. Thank you so much. We're gonna show you in production how much we appreciate you being on here today. And we scheduled almost 500 Zooms this week on this line right here.
Wow.
We scheduled almost 500. Well, don't be excited. There are people tonight that are scheduling another one. So I know that there's people on here tonight saying, look, I haven't done anything yet after hearing you speak. So we really, look, the chat's exploding right now. Mike rocks. Thank you very much, sir. Amazing call. Amazing. Oh, man, they're exploding the chat. So thanks again.
All right, guys. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Have a good night, all of you. I'm going to stand and listen, but thank you very much.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, I believe, you know, decisions were made tonight, that people made some decisions here to take their business, to take their lives to another level. And, you know, we talk about Zooms and we talk about scheduling Zooms and stretching. And how many of us noticed how Mike Cupisz came in and talked about the same thing that we talked about from the very beginning of the call tonight? What did we say? Who has the most? Who's the top ETL? Who has the most Zooms? Who are the ones that have the most as regional director? See, you can see how this mentality is a top-down mentality. Like, look, if they had Zoom when they started, how many of us heard 300 million? I wrote that down. How about you? I don't know about everybody else. He goes, we would have done 300 million and not 30 million if we started with what you have your hands on here today. So, you know, guys, this week is going to be a powerful week. We're going to end this week with a special training this upcoming Friday that's going to be done by Senior Vice President, Mr. Shane Douglas. Shane Douglas is going to be our featured trainer at the upcoming Friday night event. So you're going to get a chance to learn from somebody who started just like you, that built a business to the senior vice president level. He's had success for the last literally 20 plus years in the direct marketing industry, and somebody that we've got a lot of admiration for. We're very, very excited to have him. We want you to get an opportunity to climb in the minds of individuals that are winning. And that's why we get a Friday night leadership. Look, none of you got on here today to be average. None of you got on here today to do, you know, you had nothing else to do. We're here because of a purpose that was put on your life to go do something big. And you have that opportunity in front of you here tonight. It's just taking what you learned and stretching yourself to do a little more. You know, look, I love the fact that, you know, success is outside of your comfort zone. And that's where all of us are going to have to live, is outside of that comfort zone. And I love the message that Michael gave us here tonight, you know, talking about, look, I can do more Zooms. I mean, imagine where he talked about a Tuesday night training, a Thursday night training, and a Saturday training. 3 opportunities a week to show ACN to people, and we can do 3 a day. I mean, imagine where we can be if we just really embrace the technology that we're using and just up our game of what we want to go do. Look, accountability is what makes people successful, yes or no? You know, you got to have accountability. Text the people you're working with, say, hold me accountable. You know, I'm ready to do more. I'm ready to go to that next level. I have another gear in me. I know Christmas is around the corner. I know New Year's is literally, you know, 60 plus days away, and everybody's going to make a New Year. It was like yesterday that it was 2020. How many of us remember? It's like yesterday, 2019 to 2020. Oh, this is going to be an unbelievable year. Yeah, it's been an unbelievable year. How many of us had, right? How many of us go 2020 is going to be, it's going to be an unbelievable year. We had no idea what we were saying when we said it's going to be an unbelievable year, because it has been an unbelievable year. But I know here's what it did. It allowed us to take this technology and take our business to another level. What would have took 10 years to do, it took 10 weeks to do because of Zoom. Everybody's on Zoom. Everybody's learning Zoom. And I love what Michael said. How many of us said, if somebody called me right now, it's funny, I had somebody earlier this week on a Monday was like, hey, let's get together. I was like, yeah, I get together on Zoom. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have time to drive the coffee shop and find parking and figure out who, you know what I mean? Like, that's wasted 40 minutes before we even talk. If I spend 40 minutes on Zoom with you, I know everything I need to know after 40 minutes, yes or no. So let's embrace what we've got. Let's go out and do some Zooms over the weekend. Don't waste your weekend. Look, you're an entrepreneur. You work when other people don't. Here's what my mentor told me. Short-term motivation for long-term laziness. How many of you like that? Short-term motivate. I was motivated for a short time. I was crazy nut for a short time until I got that customer base going and I got that residual going. And then you got all kinds of choices in life. So with that, I think we have so much to be thankful for. And I just want to, end the way that I feel we should, especially as we go out and, we know there's a lot of confusion in this world. We know there's people that think it doesn't matter who's in the office. No one cares about your family but you. Yes or no? There's so many people that are so controversial, so many people with fear, so many people with uncertainty, so many people that don't know what's about to happen to their family. And then you jump into a Zoom like we did here tonight, and none of us thought about any of that stuff. For the last, literally, can we agree, 2 hours, all we thought about is where we're going, not where we are and where we can be. And we've got so much to be grateful for, so much to be thankful for. And I want to send it over to Ken and Susie Potter to send us off with a prayer here tonight. I believe it's appropriate and for us to give thanks for all that we have and all that we're going to be given. Does that make sense? Thank you for not only what we got, but thank you for what's about to come. So with that being said, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thank you, Patrick. Father God, thank you so much. Thank you for tonight, for all the positive thoughts tonight, for all the information, for having Mr. Mike Cupisz, or the co-founder of the company, on our Friday night leadership. We couldn't even have imagined, years ago having that happen, Lord, but you did. And we don't know exactly what the future holds, but we know that you hold the future, and we're so grateful for that. Thank you, Father, for allowing us to celebrate the achievements of tonight. You blessed us so much, this Rockstar family, with numerous accolades, and to have Mr. Cupisz on the line was just the cherry on top. The wisdom that he shared. Thank you, Father, for setting that up. But Lord, if we're honest, we also know that there are people on this line that aren't sure what the next day brings, and they're not sure if they can hit the pin, and they don't know that they have the belief in themselves. Lord, and I know that that's true because there were times where that was me. So my prayer tonight, Father, is that you reveal to each and every one of us right now how you see us, and that you see us as more than conquerors, that long before we called your name, that you were fighting for our victories, and we claim those victories tonight. Lord, because of the people on this line, because of this technology, 20,000 representatives a month, and millions of people and souls transformed because of the people here and because you've ordained it. And we claim it and we're grateful for it. And with that, everyone said, amen.
Amen.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful prayer. So excited about the future. Good luck sleeping tonight. Everybody, good luck. Good luck. Good luck. I hope you have to eat a handful of sleeping pills because of what we got our hands on here tonight. So we got an amazing opportunity. And I know next week our Zooms are going to double. How many of us are in for doubling our Zooms next week? How many of us are going to take responsibility to double those Zooms next week? I want to see some hands in the air. I want to see some confirmation that we're going to double our Zooms for next week. And guess what? We can do it with every single one of you on this line. So let's make it a great weekend. Let's double our Zooms going into next week. Can't wait to see you guys in person. The only thing I miss is us all getting together as a Rockstar family and having a good time. So we can't wait for those days to come back. With that being said, it concludes the meeting for tonight. God bless all of you guys. Thank you again for being a part of this. Thank you, Melissa, for running the slides. Thank Melissa. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you, Mr. Cupisz.